Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome back to chapter 23. We were talking about blood in the last video. I do want to make one point talking about the Rh groups. Most of the time it doesn't matter if the average person is positive or negative. The only time that it does matter, A, is if you're receiving blood. B, only if you're Rh negative. C, the only other time, whether or not it matters if you're Rh positive or negative, is if you are a pregnant woman. 85% of people are positive. So if mom is Rh negative, chances are the father is going to be Rh positive. 85% are positive. During childbirth is really messy. All throughout gestation, while she's pregnant, mommy blood and baby blood never mix together. Never. The only time they do mix is during childbirth. It's once the baby is born, because there's mommy blood there, there's baby blood there. Childbirth is really messy. What happens during childbirth is mommy's blood suddenly now sees baby's blood. And when mommy's negative blood sees baby's probably positive blood, now her body will start to make something called anti-Rh. It'll make specifically a protein that goes against and fights and tries to kill any blood it finds that has that positive flag on it. Well, that's not going to be a problem until she gets pregnant again. Because what's the father of the baby likely to be? 85% of people are positive. If daddy's Rh positive, good chance baby's going to be Rh positive. Well, now, because this is her second baby, now that anti-Rh stuff is in her blood. And what happens is the anti-Rh stuff can cross the placenta, and it can go into baby's bloodstream, and it will try to kill this baby's blood. Now, that scenario only happens if a woman if she never goes to the doctor after she finds out she's pregnant. Because the first thing that happens after they do a pregnancy test is they do your blood test. And now, in modern medicine, if the doctor finds out you are Rh negative, you will get shots of stuff called RhoGAM. And what RhoGAM does is it kind of blinds mommy's system, so it never sees baby's blood, so it never freaks out, so it never makes the anti-Rh stuff. So don't panic and don't worry if you're Rh negative and you want to have babies. You're going to be fine. We'll take care of it. But again, if this was 100 years ago, yeah, you'd only have one kid. And after that one kid, you'd never have another one. But again, thank God it's not 100 years ago. Okay. This is a breakdown of what is in the blood. These are the cells specifically. And remember we said that the blood is made of two things. The blood is made of cells and liquid. This is what the cells could be. It's mostly going to be red blood cells. The job of the red blood cells are to transport the bulk of the oxygen and a little bit of carbon dioxide. About 45% of your blood is red blood cells. Less than 1% of your blood is white blood cells and platelets. And these are the different white blood cells. They have different jobs, but their job is, because they're white blood cells, is to be your immune system. The job of the white blood cells is to fight against infection. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. Last are platelets, and we usually clump platelets in with white blood cells when we talk about percentages. The job of platelets is to clot your blood. It is to fix those holes that we sometimes get in our bodies. When we were talking about the capillary bed a few videos ago, we said that most of the fluid comes out of the blood vessel. And that fluid contains all of the good stuff and feeds the cells in that area. And then most of the fluid that came out comes back in on the vein side, rehydrates the blood, and then it takes the blood, it gets taken back to the heart again. What I didn't say then, but I do want to say now, is not all of the liquid that comes out of the blood on the artery side of the capillary makes it back in on the vein side of the capillary. And because some of that liquid stays out, that would present a problem if it never got picked up again. We've got to, and your body does this, your body has to pick up this extra fluid that doesn't make it back into the veins, because otherwise it would accumulate and it would accumulate and accumulate until you just started to swell and swell and swell. And that actually does happen elephantiasis. You've probably heard of it. You probably call it elephantitis. Elephantiasis is when that liquid doesn't make it back in, and so one particular limb will swell and get really, really big, huge. Okay? That liquid has to make it back into the circulatory system, otherwise problems happen. And the way it makes it back in is by sort of a secondary vein system called the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system picks up this extra fluid that didn't make it back into the circulatory system. Remember, that fluid contains trash. We said that. We said the fluid that goes into the vein has garbage in it. This extra fluid that doesn't make it back in still has trash in it and has to be cleaned. It's the job of the lymphatic system to A, pick up that fluid that didn't make it back into the veins and to get it back into the veins. And to clean that fluid so it doesn't dump trashy fluid back into the veins. That's the job of the lymphatic system. You've heard of your lymph nodes? You ever been sick and your mom felt underneath your jaw and said, "Oh, baby, your glands are swollen," right? It's not your glands that are swollen, it's lymph nodes. We'll talk about lymph nodes in just a minute. But lymph nodes are part of a small organ that is part of the lymphatic system. And the job of these lymph nodes is to clean this trashy fluid. Like we said, this fluid that didn't make it back into the veins has to get back into the veins. So it takes a slow journey back towards the heart, getting cleaned several times as it goes before it can be dumped back in. And it is the job of the lymph node to do that cleaning. Cleaning up that trashy fluid in those lymph nodes are white blood cells. White blood cells are part of the immune system. It is the job of your immune system to fight against invaders. It's the job of your immune system to protect you. I want you to kind of imagine your body is like a walled city. The wall keeps most things out, but inevitably some things will get in. And once things get in, now you have guards that run throughout your city looking for invaders, looking for troublemakers to beat them up. The wall is your skin, and that is the job. The skin is your absolute best immune defense, period. That's why people that have severe burns die of infections. If they've had a really bad burn, what have they lost? They lost their skin. Your intact skin and membranes is like this stuff, inside your mouth, your holes. Intact skin and membranes are your first line of defense, and it actually keeps out most invaders. That's part of what we call your nonspecific defenses. Other parts of your nonspecific defenses would be inflammation. You've all got a cut at some point and didn't take care of it like you were supposed to, and it got real red and puffy and inflamed and it hurt, right? Inflammation is your body's response to damage. In inflammation, there is an increase of blood cells that go to the area. That increase in blood that goes to the area makes it, 1, swell. Makes it, 2, hot. 3, turns it red, increase in blood. And 4, makes it hurt because of the increased pressure. Those are the 4 signs of inflammation. Pressure, or pain, redness, heat, and swelling. Those are the signs of inflammation. And that's not just a cut. You probably also had a bad bruise, you maybe twisted your ankle or something like that, and it swelled up, right? That's all inflammation, inflamed. Within our immune system, within our blood, we've got some cells called macrophages. Within those lymph nodes, we've got these things called macrophages. Macro means big, phage means to eat. So these are the big eaters. These are big cells, and their job is to eat infection. The job of the macrophages is to be basically your first guards. So remember, we said, imagine that your body is a walled city. Your skin is the wall that goes around the city. Walking through your city are guards. And the job of these guards are to defend your people, not to knock them down and beat them up and arrest them for no reason. The job of these guards are to defend the people against troublemakers. Those guards are the macrophages. When those guards do find a troublemaker, that troublemaker sometimes is from your town. Not always, but sometimes. Most of the time, though, the troublemakers that the macrophages find are invaders from outside. We'll pick those up in just a minute.